Now, as a fighter, Steve McQueen, now he is good in that department.
Steve McQueen and Bruce Lee trained together. They sparred in private. They shared secrets about fighting and fame. When Lee died suddenly in July 1973, Hollywood expected McQueen to be there. But something happened that changed everything. Friends say McQueen made a decision that shocked everyone. Was it guilt, fear, or something darker that nobody talks about? The truth might surprise you. Steve McQueen came into the world on March 24, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana. His birth was just as dramatic as the life he would lead. His mother, Julia Ann Crawford, was only 20. She worked as a sex worker and fought constant battles with alcohol and abusive relationships. His father, William McQueen, was a circus stunt pilot who loved danger but didn't stick around. He disappeared just 6 months after meeting Julia, leaving her pregnant and alone. The Great Depression made everything worse. Steve's early life was filled with poverty, neglect, and chaos. His father's daring spirit seemed to haunt him, pushing him toward danger and speed for the rest of his life. By the time Steve was 3, his mother couldn't handle raising him anymore. In 1933, she left him with her parents, Victor and Lillian, in Slater, Missouri. But this wasn't the end of her leaving him. Julia's drinking and bad choices in men meant Steve was constantly uprooted. On the farm, run by his great-uncle Claude, Steve finally found a little peace. The farm gave him safety when so many families were breaking apart during the Depression. Here, he learned to work hard and be fair. For a short time, he tasted what a normal childhood could be. But it didn't last. His mother came back, bringing with her the same storms that always seemed to follow. When Steve was 8, Julia showed up again. She was remarried and took him to live in Indianapolis. On the day he left, Uncle Claude gave him a gold pocket watch. The words engraved on it said, "To Steve, who has been a son to me." That watch meant everything to him. It reminded him that someone truly loved him. It was the one thing that made him feel valued in a world that often made him feel invisible. That watch stayed with him, a symbol of kindness that gave him strength through dark times. But darkness came fast. Life with his mother and new stepfather turned into horror. His stepfather beat him and his mother. At just 9 years old, Steve ran away. The streets of Indianapolis became his new home. He stole food to survive. He slept wherever he could. Later, he said that having no love as a child made him believe he wasn't good enough. The streets didn't just shelter him, they hardened him, shaping the tough, rebellious man the world would one day call the King of Cool. In Los Angeles, Steve fell in with a gang. He was still just a boy, but he learned fast, stealing hubcaps, running scams, doing whatever it took to belong. The gang became his family. At 13, he lost his virginity to a 15-year-old prostitute named Matilda. The gang paid her with a cake. Steve later said, "You didn't pay her with money, you bought her cakes." That's how bleak his childhood was, growing up too fast in a world with no innocence left for him. At the California Junior Boys Republic, Steve's life hit another turning point. He spent 14 months there. It was harsh. He was put in solitary confinement 5 times. The isolation left deep scars, but it also taught him how to endure. Later, when he played the role of the rebellious prisoner in The Great Escape, those scenes came straight from his own memories of the reform school. That brutal place didn't just punish him, it forged him into the man who would face the world with grit and defiance. Over time, Steve changed. At Boys Republic, he went from outcast to leader. He was elected to the Boys' Council. This was more than a title. It showed that people were starting to see him differently. And he started seeing himself differently too. When he made it big in Hollywood, he never forgot Boys Republic. He gave back again and again, helping the place that helped him. It showed how much second chances mattered to him. At 17, he joined the Marines. He wanted a new start, but the rebel in him clashed with military rules. He was demoted 7 times for insubordination. He even went AWOL and paid for it with 41 days in the brig. But the Marines shaped him. They taught him discipline, even as he fought against it. The tough lessons he learned there became the foundation of his success. Then came a moment that defined him. During a training exercise in the Arctic, a tank broke through the ice. Steve didn't hesitate. He saved 5 Marines from drowning. That act earned him respect and a spot guarding President Harry S. Truman's yacht. It showed the world that behind the rebel was a man you could count on. When Steve left the Marines, it was with an honorable discharge. He often said the Marines made a man out of him. The discipline and purpose he gained stayed with him forever. It shaped not only the man, but the hero he played on screen. In the early 1950s, Steve McQueen was just another hungry dreamer trying to survive in New York City. After serving in the Marines, he used the GI Bill to study acting at the neighborhood playhouse under the tough guidance of Sanford Meisner. But acting school didn't pay rent or put food on the table. To scrape by, McQueen threw himself into motorcycle racing on weekends at Long Island City Raceway. He risked his neck for $100 a race, a big prize when rent in Manhattan could be as low as $30 a week. His life became a wild mix of daytime discipline in acting class and nighttime danger on the track. This double life shaped him. The grit of the streets and the precision of the stage turned him into something different from the other actors clawing for a break. McQueen's first steps into Hollywood were small, so small that no one noticed at first. In 1956, he appeared in Somebody Up There Likes Me, a boxing movie starring Paul Newman. McQueen played a gang member named Fidel. His part was uncredited, and his name never made it into the credits. But it mattered. That role gave him his first taste of film, and the energy he brought to the screen hinted at what was coming. Just 2 years later, in 1958, McQueen starred in The Blob, a low-budget horror film that cost between $110,000 and $240,000 to make. He earned $3,000 for it. The movie exploded at the box office, bringing in $4 million. That success turned heads. In just 2 years, he had gone from extra to star. It was the kind of rise that felt like lightning, but it was fueled by years of struggle. That same year, 1958, McQueen's life changed again. He landed the lead in Wanted, Dead or Alive, a CBS Western. He played Josh Randall, a bounty hunter with a soft heart. Randall helped the innocent and gave his earnings to those in need. The show ran for 3 seasons, from 1958 to 1961, and made McQueen famous across America. This wasn't just a break, it was a transformation. He became the first TV star of that era to cross over into major film stardom. McQueen later said, "3 hard mother-grabbing years, but I learned my trade, and it gave me discipline." Those years on TV set the stage for everything that followed. Off-screen, his personal life was changing too. On November 2, 1956, he married Neela Adams, a Broadway dancer he met during Mr. Roberts. Neela, born in Manila, was a rising star. She became McQueen's rock. She worked several jobs to help pay the bills while he chased acting roles and raced bikes for cash. Their son, Chad, was born in 1960. Neela believed in McQueen before the world did, helping him land auditions and manage the chaos of his early fame. Their marriage would face storms later, but in those early years, it kept him steady. Even as McQueen became a TV icon, he couldn't give up his love for motorcycle racing. While filming Wanted Dead or Alive, he still raced on weekends. Sometimes, his prize money from racing was bigger than his acting pay. He entered races under the fake name Harvey Mushman, so no one would know it was him. He bought his first off-road bike, a Triumph 500cc, from Bud Ekins, and hit famous races like the Baja 1000, the Mint 400, and the Elsinore Grand Prix. Steve McQueen was determined to shine in the Magnificent Seven in 1960. Yul Brynner was the big star back then, known for his powerful presence and his Oscar for The King and I. But McQueen, who was still mostly a TV actor, wanted to make sure people noticed him. He came up with clever tricks to steal the spotlight. Every time he shared a scene with Brynner, McQueen would adjust his hat, play with his gun belt, or find ways to move that drew your eye. During the river crossing scene, he even scooped up water with his hat just to stand out. Brynner got so annoyed that he hired someone to count how many times McQueen touched his hat. Brynner, who was actually 2 inches shorter, even stood on small mounds of dirt to look taller. McQueen would secretly kick the dirt away whenever he could. That behind-the-scenes battle added tension to their scenes. It also helped McQueen go from unknown actor to star. In 1963, McQueen became even cooler thanks to The Great Escape. That movie had a motorcycle chase that became one of the most famous stunts ever filmed. McQueen loved motorcycles and helped plan the action scenes himself. He wanted the chase to look real. Even though he did most of his own riding, the insurance company wouldn't let him do the scariest part, the big jump over a barbed wire fence. That amazing leap on a Triumph TR6 trophy was done by Bud Ekins, McQueen's friend and fellow racer. McQueen didn't mind. He was so committed that he even dressed up as a German soldier in some shots to make the chase longer and better. That scene captured everything people loved about McQueen: freedom, defiance, and pure cool. Then came Bullet in 1968, with a car chase that changed action films forever. McQueen got behind the wheel of a dark green Ford Mustang GT 390, chasing a black Dodge Charger through the streets of San Francisco. The chase lasted 11 minutes and was full of raw speed and danger. McQueen did a lot of the driving himself, but he struggled to match the pros during the wildest moments. He even lost control once and nearly hit a cameraman, so Bud Ekins stepped in again for the riskiest parts. The editing was so good that it won Frank Keller an Oscar in 1969. That scene didn't just make the Mustang a legend, it sealed McQueen's title as the King of Cool. McQueen proved he was more than an action star in The Sand Pebbles in 1966. He played Jake Holman, a rebellious sailor in 1920s China. The movie was huge, with a $12 million budget, and filmed in Taiwan. It got 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Actor for McQueen. He didn't win, but that role showed he could deliver powerful, emotional performances and not just play tough guys. In The Thomas Crown Affair in 1968, McQueen took a risk. He played a rich, clever thief, very different from his usual working-class characters. The movie's style, music, and famous chess scene with Faye Dunaway made it unforgettable. McQueen showed he could be smooth and sophisticated, not just rugged and rebellious. It proved he could do it all. By 1974, McQueen was at the top. For The Towering Inferno, he earned $12 million, about $76 million today. He became the highest-paid actor in the world. Studios bent over backwards to meet his demands. Then, amazingly, he walked away from acting for 4 years. That's how powerful he was. McQueen's contract demands weren't just about ego. He always asked for things like electric razors and blue jeans. But he didn't keep them. He gave them to the Boys' Republic, a reform school where he'd lived as a teen. That place had changed his life, and he never forgot it. He quietly helped the school for years, and most people didn't even know until after he died. On the towering Inferno set, McQueen clashed with Paul Newman. Both wanted top billing, equal pay, and the same number of lines. The studio had to get creative. Sometimes McQueen's name was first on the left, sometimes Newman's name was first on the right. Their rivalry became legendary in Hollywood. In 1969, McQueen had a terrifying brush with death. He was invited to Sharon Tate's house the night the Manson family murdered everyone inside. He planned to go, but changed his mind at the last minute to stay with a date. That decision saved his life. Later, it came out that McQueen was actually on the Manson family's hit list, along with stars like Frank Sinatra and Elizabeth Taylor. The near miss haunted him. For years after, he carried a gun and kept a low profile, knowing just how close he had come to being another victim. Steve McQueen lived like a man with no brakes. In the early 1960s, he nearly killed himself, racing through the snow-covered High Sierra Mountains. He lost control of his bike, crashed into a pine tree, and a broken branch smashed straight into his mouth. Blood and bark filled his mouth. He didn't even take off his gloves. Instead, he asked a course official to check his teeth. They were loose, but still there. McQueen, bleeding and battered, jumped back on the bike and finished the race. That moment captured everything about him. He was reckless, hungry for adrenaline, and didn't care what it cost him. That same wild streak drove him deep into the desert of Palm Springs. One night, after taking peyote, he tore off on his motorcycle into the Colorado desert. He flew over bumps and through gulches, crashing again and again. Cactus shredded his skin. Rocks tore him up. Sand filled his nose. He even said kangaroo rats ran into his ears. He didn't care. He just kept going until his body was wrecked. That's how far he would go to chase a thrill. The 1971 film Le Mans nearly destroyed him. McQueen wanted it to feel real, no matter the risk. So he insisted on dangerous live-action stunts. It ended in disaster. British driver David Piper crashed and lost a leg. Derek Bell's car burst into flames and his face was burned. McQueen's marriage to Neela Adams collapsed. He became paranoid when he found out he was on the Manson family's hit list. The director quit. His company, Solar Productions, was ruined. McQueen's dream project became a nightmare, and it showed the dark side of his need for danger. The set of The Getaway in 1972 felt more like a war zone than a film shoot. Steve McQueen and Sam Peckinpah clashed at every turn. Both men had fiery tempers, and Peckinpah's drinking only made things worse. Their arguments often exploded into shouting matches. Once, McQueen even hurled a bottle of champagne at Peckinpah's head. The bottle missed, but the tension on set was so thick that crew members said it felt dangerous just to be there. McQueen had final cut rights in his contract, so he often overruled Peckinpah and picked takes that made him look good. He even fired the original director, Peter Bogdanovich, before Peckinpah came in. Peckinpah later complained that McQueen's edits made the movie too safe and full of pretty boy shots. Yet despite all this, The Getaway became a huge box office hit. But neither man forgot the scars from that battle. McQueen's off-screen feuds could be just as wild. His rivalry with James Garner became the stuff of Hollywood legend. After The Great Escape in 1963, things between them soured. McQueen suspected Garner of having an affair with his wife, though Garner was loyal to his own wife for nearly 60 years. Then, in 1966, Garner got the lead in Grand Prix, a role McQueen badly wanted. McQueen had to abandon his own racing film plans. Furious, he started pulling petty stunts. He urinated off his balcony onto Garner's yard. He tossed empty beer cans into Garner's neat driveway just to get under his skin. Garner later called McQueen selfish and competitive. McQueen, for his part, saw Garner as too polished. Their feud became a symbol of how ridiculous Hollywood rivalries could get. As McQueen's fame grew, so did his demands. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, he was Hollywood's top-paid star. For the Thomas Crown Affair in 1968, he got $750,000 plus 15% of the gross after break-even and an extra $1,000 a week for expenses. His contracts included odd requests like barbells at every set, transport for his motorcycle, and the best dressing room. He often fought with directors and producers, demanding creative control and overriding decisions. On The Getaway, he replaced the composer with Quincy Jones and fired Bogdanovich. Studios put up with it because his films made money. McQueen's tough attitude came from deep insecurities, but it changed the way stars negotiated in Hollywood. At the peak of his fame in the mid-1970s, McQueen stunned everyone by stepping away from the spotlight. After a string of hits, he stopped taking roles and vanished from Hollywood. He hit the road in a motorhome, focusing on motorcycle racing and the freedom of the open road. This wasn't just about loving bikes. He was fed up with the film industry and haunted by personal troubles, including learning his name was on Charles Manson's hit list after the Tate LaBianca murders. Studios were left scrambling, but McQueen didn't care. He wanted his freedom back. He only returned to the screen now and then, before dying at age 50 in 1980. His sudden retreat only added to the mystery around him. One of the most revealing moments of McQueen's character came after Bruce Lee's death in 1973. Golden Harvest Studios wanted to cash in on Lee's fame by using old footage and inviting McQueen, James Coburn, and Muhammad Ali to appear in Game of Death. McQueen refused. He thought it would be disrespectful to his friend. McQueen had trained with Lee and served as a pallbearer at his funeral, something rare for the private star. While the studio went so far as to use real funeral footage in the film, McQueen stood firm. He wouldn't exploit Lee's death, showing the loyalty that defined him even as Hollywood's machine kept turning. McQueen's private life was just as wild as his career. His first marriage to Nyla Adams, from 1956 to 1972, was filled with violence and fear. Adams described how his jealousy made him slap her, jab her face, and even point an unloaded gun at her in a rage. She lived in terror for years as his drinking and drug use got worse. McQueen cheated on her constantly. He had hundreds of affairs with actresses, groupies, housewives, hitchhikers, even burlesque dancers like Candy Barr. Nothing stopped him. His betrayals were public and shameless, leaving Adams heartbroken but trying to hold the family together for their 2 children. When McQueen married Ali MacGraw in 1973, it started with passion and ended with heartbreak. They fell for each other on the set of The Getaway, while she was still married to Robert Evans. McQueen demanded she give up acting and devote herself to him. He was furious if she so much as spoke to another man, but he kept cheating on her. They fought constantly. The pain deepened when MacGraw had a miscarriage. They split in 1977 and divorced in 1978. MacGraw later called their marriage a mix of wonderful and dreadful days that left scars she carried for life. By the 1970s, McQueen was falling apart. He drank heavily. He smoked up to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. He used cocaine, LSD, and amyl nitrate. His mood swings and violent outbursts scared the people around him. Fame and addiction destroyed his charm and left him paranoid and angry. The man who once ruled Hollywood was now haunted by his demons. In 1980, he married Barbara Minty. He saw her in a magazine, arranged to meet her, and quickly married her. The wedding lasted 10 minutes. Their time together was short, less than 10 months. McQueen was already dying of cancer caused by asbestos. Minty stayed by his side until he passed away. Steve McQueen, known as the King of Cool, began coughing in early 1978. He thought it was because of smoking, so he quit cigarettes and tried antibiotics. But nothing worked. The cough got worse. Soon, he was struggling to breathe. At first, it seemed like a small health problem, but it was the first sign of something deadly that had been hiding inside him for decades. After nearly a year of tests, doctors finally gave him the news in December 1979. McQueen had pleural mesothelioma. This rare and aggressive cancer almost always comes from asbestos exposure. The shocking part is how long it takes to appear. The disease can take 20 to 50 years to develop after the first exposure. McQueen's likely exposure happened in the late 1940s. He was in the U.S. Marine Corps and had to remove asbestos from pipes on a troop ship. The air was so thick with dust, he said he could hardly breathe. By the time doctors found the cancer, it was too late. They gave him just months to live. McQueen died less than a year later, on November 7, 1980. He was only 50. Just months before his diagnosis, something unexpected happened in his life. McQueen went through a powerful spiritual change. His flying instructor, Sammy Mason, played a big part in it. Mason was a calm, kind man whose faith impressed McQueen. During flying lessons in his yellow biplane, they talked a lot about life. One day, McQueen asked Mason what made him so different. Mason answered simply, "It's Jesus Christ." That made McQueen curious. He started going to Ventura Missionary Church with Mason and Mason's wife, Barbara. McQueen didn't want attention. He sat quietly in the balcony for months. Slowly, he felt at home there. After 3 months, he met with Pastor Leonard DeWitt. That meeting changed everything. McQueen told the pastor he was tired of Hollywood and the empty life he had lived. He said during a church service, he had prayed silently to accept Christ. His friends saw the difference. They said he was like a new man. Even the most skeptical ones were amazed. In July 1980, McQueen made a desperate choice. He went to Mexico for treatment from William Donald Kelly. Kelly had no medical license and offered a strange mix of therapies. McQueen paid up to $40,000 a month for enzyme injections, massive vitamins, letril, coffee enemas, and strict diets. Kelly's methods had been rejected in the U.S., but McQueen was out of options. Tabloids claimed he was improving. The truth was the opposite. His health got worse. In November 1980, he had risky surgery to remove tumors from his neck and abdomen. He died just 12 hours later from a heart attack. His death was filled with mystery. The surgery took 3 hours. At first, doctors thought he was doing well, but late that night, he had breathing problems and died at 2:50 a.m. in Ciudad Juarez. Some said it was just a failed surgery. Others, like Kelly, claimed McQueen was murdered to protect the profits of mainstream cancer treatments. There was no proof of this, but the idea spread fast. McQueen had checked into the clinic under a fake name, Sam Shepard, to keep the press away. His body was weak and weighed between 100 and 150 pounds. He had a massive tumor in his abdomen that weighed 5 pounds. His body was flown quietly from Texas to Los Angeles. The secrecy and strange details kept people guessing for years. His final days, full of hope, fear, and mystery, added to his legend.